Today we're going to talk about the start of what is arguably Coach's best year ever, 2016. I have really been looking forward to the series of videos that's going to be around this year. And I know some of you have too, because several of you have mentioned to me that you are really looking forward to this next year. The reason this year is so special is because it's Coach's 75th anniversary, and there are so many things that happened because of that. One of them is what we'll be talking about today, and this one actually includes a couple of things. It is Coach's very first proper New York Fashion Week runway show. Previous to this, they'd had presentations at New York Fashion Week, but never a real runway. And boy, is it a good one. So today we'll look at that, some iconic aspects of Coach that were introduced in this show. We'll pay particular attention to all of the handbags that were introduced. This is a great show, an exciting year, so let's get started. And welcome, I'm Autumn Beckman, and I'm here to help you live your most luxurious life within your budget. I post new videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of those, and so you don't miss my daily community posts where I share the best sales of the day and fabulous handbags that I find. Also, don't miss my website, autumnbeckman.com/shop. That's where I have handbags and accessories available for purchase, as well as the My Handbag Collection Organizer. These are planner pages that I've designed to help you organize and curate your handbags and your life. The heart of which is the item tracker page. These are pages where you can record everything you'd want to know about your handbags and small goods. I also have all kinds of tracking pages for wish lists and purchases and shipments. Several different pages that help you track how and when you're using your items, as well as calendar pages in a variety of formats so you can find what works best for you. So this video focuses on the spring 2016 runway show. I will do another one next month because I do these New York Fashion Week videos for Coach once a month in chronological order. Like I said, this was Coach's first proper runway show with New York Fashion Week. Prior to this, they had 3 other shows, and I do have videos on each of those, so I'll have them linked below if you missed them. And in addition to the new bags they release in this show, they also introduced 3 things that have become iconic to Coach. One of those is the 1941 line, which actually was just discontinued in the past couple of years. They still make 1941 bags, they just don't label them that way anymore. The 1941 bags are the runway bags for the most part. There are exceptions to that. And that typically means that they are the best quality bags that Coach offers. I think the easiest way to identify a 1941 bag is to look at the hang tag. I'll show you examples with these 2 bags. I'll bring them closer. This is the Coach Tabby Messenger 19. It does have a crossbody strap, but it's tucked inside the bag. And it has a regular Coach hang tag, so you've just got a piece of leather with the Coach logo stamped in it. This is a Coach Rogue, specifically the 20 centimeter size with braiding. And this tag is a 1941 tag. You can tell that it has the metal on the top and the little horse and carriage there. So that's a really easy way to tell the difference. And of course, 1941 is the year that Coach was founded. Another distinguishing characteristic of the 1941 bags is that somewhere on the bag, usually on the bottom, but not always, you'll see a stamp in gold or silver, and it will be debossed. And that tells you what kind of leather is used on that bag. In this case, it says genuine glove-tanned pebble leather. The bags in this particular show for spring 2016 also have a couple of extra features that aren't necessarily found on every 1941 bag. The ones in this show are all lined in leather. The bags in Coach's previous New York Fashion Week presentations, to my recollection, were lined in textile. Plus, the bags that were actually put into production from this runway show look exactly like the ones on the runway, which is definitely not always the case anymore. So that's something that's really great about this particular show, is if you see a bag you love, you can probably get exactly that bag. I don't know that every bag was produced, but from what I've seen, most were. Another thing they introduced from this runway show is what's called buy now bags. So immediately following the runway show, one of the bag styles is made available in limited quantities for immediate purchase. And that was a tradition with Coach runway shows for a number of years. I'm not sure they're doing it anymore though. I remember in some recent years, the bags haven't dropped immediately after the show. Sometimes it takes a few days. And I feel like this last show for fall 25, that no bags dropped, but correct me if I'm misremembering that. Now for the show itself, they had an interesting set. At the time this show was going on, Coach was in the process of moving its headquarters to a building on the west side of Manhattan, right next to the High Line, which is an elevated train track that's been turned into a park. The set for this show was on the High Line. There was a glass structure built with sort of oversized stairs where the audience would sit. And then there was a runway that went through an artificial prairie. There was sand on the ground, and then all these prairie grasses were planted there. The show was also scheduled at sunset, and because the building was glass, you could watch the sunset over the show. The clothes featured a lot of patchwork, color-blocked patchwork with lots of tiny florals, and I believe these were called prairie flowers, which would make sense. In considering the audience for this particular runway show, and I don't mean the people who are sitting watching it, I mean the consumer audience, who's going to be buying these clothes and handbags. Stuart Vevers said he was thinking of what he called a magpie girl, who, quote, goes on road trips picking up Western things, but also might steal from her granny's closet on the Upper East Side. So if you watched my videos on the previous New York Fashion Week shows, there's a heavy Western influence with Stuart Vevers, who is British and moved to America to become Coach's creative director. Plus, I came across this quote from him from this show that I found very interesting, and I've never noticed this because I don't look at footwear, but he says, "I don't think I've ever put a heel on the runway. I just want to make it feel light in spirit and bring some joy to it and maybe a sense of the American outdoors." So now I have to go back through all the shows and see if there are ever heels in them. This show, as the 3 previous presentations that Stuart Vevers gave with Coach in New York Fashion Week, was a huge hit. Purse Blog reported that the collection from creative director Stuart Vevers was not merely well received. They said, "I've heard many fashion insiders say Coach Spring 2016 was their favorite show of Fashion Week." They go on to say, in his short stint at Coach, Stuart Vevers has undoubtedly been able to change people's perceptions of the brand for the better. And this collection is a strong step in continuing that trajectory. And now let's get to the bags. In terms of the color palette that we see in this show, for me, I found it surprisingly a fall palette more than a spring palette. We have the usual neutrals, the blacks, whites, and browns, but the other colors we see are burgundies, deep blues, mustard yellows, and those we tend to see more in the fall, so I thought that was really interesting. And I also found some of the textures more fall-like. We have smooth leather on most of the bags. I did see one touch of pebbled leather that I'll show you later on. We do see florals done in 2 different ways, in addition to all the floral clothing. We see patchwork, and I mentioned there were 3 iconic things to Coach that were introduced in this show. The 1941 bags, the Buy Now bags. The third thing, tea roses. Now, I've looked through all the Coach catalogs that I have PDFs for, and I will put a link to all those in the description box below. And in doing so, I found one bag charm. It was a single tea rose that looks like the tea roses today. It wasn't called a tea rose back then. So I suspect that's where Stuart Vevers got his inspiration, because he does go through Coach archives and pull aspects of those into current collections. But tea roses are everywhere. They exploded. They are in full bloom on this runway. We also see some exotic leathers. We see a lot of snakeskin, and we see some ostrich. And they introduced 3 bag styles in this runway show, so let's go through those now. The first is the Dinky. Now, this Dinky is actually a redesign of Bonnie Cashin's original Dinky, but this one is modernized. And I will say it was very, very difficult and frustrating, and you'll see what I mean as I put photos up. It was difficult to tell what was going on with the Dinkies because they were all carried under the arms of the models, and their arms are on top of them, but the photographs are taken from straight ahead on the model, so the photos are focused on the outfit, not on the bag so much, so we can't see the Dinky bags very well. However, I did get a few hints, and I'll share those with you about what I think is on the runway. And these Dinkies would have a turn lock on the front. There'll be a flat bag with a turn lock. They also had a removable chain strap with leather woven through it, a pocket on the back. And from what I could tell, they each had either a little charm, probably a little metal charm, attached on the same ring as the 1941 hang tag. You won't be able to see them in these photos though, because they're so small and kind of blurry when you blow them up that big. And then some of them had a larger, what looked like a tea rose charm out of leather. And by the way, all the bags that I'm showing you today, these 3 bags with lots of different variations, everything I can find will be linked in the description box below, and I have been able to find most of these variations. So check those out below. And my next video will be going through each of these 3 bags in detail, because I have 2 of them and I used to have the 3rd one, so I'll show you pictures that I have of that. So you can learn all about the details of the bags, things to look for, pockets, all kinds of things. So with the Dinkies, as best I could tell, there were solid colors in black And in white, these I could only see the end of the bag, so I don't know what the front flap looks like. Brown, blue, it's like a light blue in this case, and the yellow. I also saw this burgundy one that looks like it might be a patchwork. They did patchwork in both of the other two bags, so it would surprise me if they didn't do patchwork on the Dinky. And the tea roses. I see a yellow with yellow, blue, and green tea roses. I see a brown with white and orange and brown tea roses. A black with tea roses, but I can't tell what the colors are. I also saw this blue one with florals. This is likely on ponyhair, which is one of the textures that they did in this season that I think I forgot to mention when I just talked about textures. I also saw this yellow one with the black zebra stripes. This is not one I have ever seen on the Preloved market as far as I can remember. And I felt like that was really out of place with the rest of the bags in this show. So I don't know what that was about. But that's the Dinky. Next is the saddlebag. Now Coach has done a ton of variations on the saddlebag over the years. This is not even Stuart Weber's first saddlebag with Coach. He did a few of those in the previous New York Fashion Week shows. This saddlebag though is what's known as the Saddle 23. It did come in two sizes though. There was also a larger size on the runway that looks more like a messenger size. I wasn't able to find any of those on the Preloved market, but there are a ton of the Saddle 23s in a lot of different variations. In solid colors, I saw black with a yellow contrast stitching. I also saw the yellow color. I saw the burgundy in the large and the small. One of the burgundy bags looks like it has little initials in pink stamped onto the front flap of the bag. I know that in more recent years, Coach has had a tradition where they give the models that walk in their runways some kind of small gift. So this could have been that. Maybe those were the model's initials and maybe she got to keep the bag. And this may have been, I'd have to check to confirm this, but this may have been the first year that they started doing Coach Create where you could customize bags. So that would be like a little advertisement for that. Now Coach did the saddlebag in patchwork, as you can see here. There's several of these available on the Preloved market, but I didn't see one on the runway, which would really surprise me since they do show this particular patchwork on this runway show. But I probably didn't see it just because of the angles of things. For the tea roses, they did the saddlebag in yellow with the blue, green, and orange tea roses, black with the tea roses, and brown with brown, white, and yellow tea roses. They also had two different floral saddlebags. Again, I think these are both on ponyhair, and I based that on the ones that went into production that definitely are on ponyhair and that have the same prints. So there's this small like micro flowers that match the outfits the models are wearing. And then there's one where there are different flowers that are spaced apart a little more. And they did some exotic bags. So here's a black one with black and white snake trim. Most of the exotics are snake and are just trimmed, like the handle will be in snake. And there were two that were color blocked in three different leathers. This one with the smooth burgundy leather body, pebbled brown, this is the only pebbled leather I saw on the runway. So pebbled brown sides, and then the snake strap. And then this one with a blue body, which I'm guessing is smooth leather, black sides I'm guessing are also pebbled, but you can't really see, and again the snake handle. And then we get to bag number 3. This is not only my favorite bag in this runway show, but one of my favorite Coach bags of all time, the Outlaw Satchel. This came in two sizes. The smaller one is known as the Outlaw Satchel 36, and then there's also a larger one. You can tell the difference by looking at these, what size it is, because the larger size has longer handles that will fit over your shoulder, and the smaller size is just going to be handheld. The smaller size will also come with a crossbody strap. I'm not sure about the larger size if it has one. I would guess no, since it fits over your shoulder, but I'm not sure. The Outlaw Satchel was a new style for Coach, whereas the first two bags they'd done before. And the Outlaw Satchel is structured so there's a domed body of the bag, but then there's an extra piece of leather around the front and the back that creates a pocket. The pocket is connected, or the top of the pocket anyway, is connected with two oversized turn locks, which of course is an ode to Bonnie Cashin. And a lot of the bags on the runway were worn such that one of the turn locks was unlocked and the front flap was folded open. The pocket was folded open so you could see what is usually a contrasting interior on the other side of that leather. Sometimes you'll see the pocket and the body, those two different exterior leathers, are the same. Sometimes they're different. The Outlaw Satchel, in addition to the 1941 tag, also comes with a clochette. And on the runway, they showed this in solid colors, brown with the yellow interior, white, I think that one had a yellow interior too, black with the yellow interior. They showed that in the small and the large size, and a blue with the yellow interior. And some of these leathers, several of the solid colored leathers, were called polished grain leather. Others look like they're glove tanned, and then others are totally different. You'll see in a minute. They showed this bag with patchwork on that top panel, both in a large and a small. And I feel like I saw two different patchworks, similar but different. Like one of them has more patches and more colors, and the other seems more sparse, but I could be wrong. It's hard to see. These bags were done in tea roses. I recently sold one that I had that with the tea roses on top. And researching for this video, I'm seeing them again. I love all of the Outlaw Satchels, so it kind of makes me regret selling that bag, but I did it because I never carried that particular one. The colorway just doesn't go with my wardrobe. But I do still have another Outlet Satchel that I will show you in the next video, and I just picked up another one that I don't have yet, so I'll show you that eventually. So the tea roses, the one I had was this mustard yellow with the tea roses in like yellows and greens and oranges. Beautiful. They also have this black one with the blue tea roses and the yellow interior. And in my next video, when I'm going through the details on all these bags, I'll also be showing you some variations on the bags that weren't on this runway, but that were put into production. There is another version of the patchwork that's very interesting. So you'll see that in the next video. And then there were the exotics. On the runway, they showed this red with the black and white snake handles, this blue with the yellow interior and the black and white snake handles, and this one, gorgeous, where the pocket is in snake and then the body is the brown leather. And then my favorites, this gorgeous one with the yellow ostrich on the pocket and the brown body. And again, in the next video, I'm going to show you another variation of the exotic that was produced that I don't see on this runway that is my favorite of all of them. It is stunning, and it's available for purchase right now. So make sure you tune in for my next video, which will actually be on Sunday this week because I'm running a day behind right now, to learn more about these three bags, see all the details, see more variations. Let me know in the comments section what you think of the bags that were introduced in this runway show, and maybe what you're looking forward to for the rest of 2016 for Coach and their 75th anniversary, because there is so much. While you're down there in the comment section, please also check out the description box where I'll have everything linked. So if you saw anything in this video you're interested in, you can go get more information or find it more quickly using the links that I've posted. As well as checking out my website, autumnbeckman.com/shop, for handbags, accessories, and planner pages. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you back here next time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.